I was reading a user message recently, and this message that came across was a term that I'd heard before, and the term was, I just don't feel like I'm being fed. Now, I'd heard this term before, but this time I heard it a little bit different. The person was talking about their experience at their church and was questioning if it was time to move on to a new church home. Now, without having a real conversation with the person on the other end of this comment, I found myself wondering some things. With the disconnect that the internet creates, I was able to spend some time thinking about some things that this statement could possibly mean. First, when someone says they aren't being fed, the usual conclusion is that they are expressing some sort of statement that is really directed at their pastor or their Christian education experience. Moreover, they are probably directing the comment at the pastor's sermons and or his preaching ability. The basic idea is that they are expressing some sort of indirect statement that the teaching just isn't up to par. Now, while it may very well be the case in some instances, I would ask you, the viewer, to consider that there are a few other possibilities involved with this. There's an old expression that says you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. Now, I'm going to risk the possibility of that someone's going to become a little incensed with where I'm going with the use of this expression. I think it's imperative, though, that we broach this subject. How we come prepared to a teaching learning experience can determine how we respond. How many of us arrive at a worship experience with the expectation that our life might be changed that day? Most of us, if we are honest, will probably admit that we walk into service on Sunday mornings with the expectation that we'll be entertained, but not changed. So my first challenge for today is to stop at the door this Sunday morning and ask God to do something amazing in your heart. Ask God to speak a word to you that will mold you in some way. What would happen if we all entered the church doors expecting that we will experience a life-altering moment while in service or in Sunday school? Showing up to church is easy. Showing up with the allowance for and the expectation of change, now that's bold. My second challenge is a question. Have you prayed for your pastor this week? Do you dedicate time to praying for your pastor that they will hear a message that needs to be delivered? More than likely, your pastor is a pretty busy person. Your pastor may not keep regular office hours, but it's likely that their clock in and clock out times are pretty early and pretty late regardless. Getting ready for Sunday mornings is likely a race against many other things in the weekly life, so he or she could likely use all the prayer they can get. My third challenge for us to think about is drawn from our cultural need to be entertained. Many of us mistakenly view Sunday morning as something that is in competition with the myriad of entertainment options that are available to us today. With all the high action, high comedy, high drama, high energy options available to us on TV and then on the internet, we may find ourselves tempted to see the pulpit as another potential source of entertainment. While some pastors may be able to bridge an entertainment style of public address and hermeneutics, it would be totally unfair to expect that practice of all pastors as a standard. Performance art isn't essential to delivering a message with great impaction. My fourth thought is a tough one to consider. This is something that I have experienced myself, so I know the subject pretty well. There are times that we experience obstructions to the Spirit caused by human interaction. We are all imperfect. This statement is unarguable, since believing otherwise negates the need for Jesus Christ to begin with. Since we are all imperfect yet try to be in relationships with others, it is a natural conclusion that our relationships are imperfect as well. We are going to have times that we disagree with one another. There are going to be times that we get on each other's nerves. These things are going to happen. They have to happen if we believe that Jesus' death and resurrection are central to our beliefs. When we allow those experiences to become an episodic and metaphorical wall between us, we are going to cut off the ability to learn and grow from each other. Think of it as a sheet of glass placed over a trough. The water is in the trough. We can see the water. There's no way to drink it. So those are my thoughts for today. While Jesus may not have spoke on the pastoral relations and the nature of the pastor/church member interaction, I think it might be safe to say that he did address the issue of love. So have you loved your pastor this week? And what I mean is, have you spent time lifting him or her up? Have you prayed for your pastor? Odds are your pastor is a pretty talented person who could likely succeed in any number of areas of business or the arts or whatever, but they chose to answer the call to ministry. This means that they have chosen the difficult path, but they did it for your sake. Have you prayed for that person? when you're in a loving relationship, it goes both ways. You might just find that the feeding does too. And that's something to pray about, don't you think? Hey, thanks for joining us here on YouTube. You know, there are all sorts of links around here. I'm just gonna let this video run so you can click on one of those links around here, and there's gonna be a surprise one right here. And there it goes. If you missed it, you missed it. I don't know what to tell you. Hey, have a great week, and hope you have a great Easter. Take care.